Hi, I'm Sunny, and this is my podcast, Creator, Created, Creating. Short and sweet mindset shifts for intentional life creation. So this one is for any of you who share in my conditioning that anytime you are feeling really up and really like happy with yourself, loving yourself, being kind to yourself, feeling good, having things go good, like in your joy, right? Just in your love and joy and delight with life and yourself, or feeling proud or feeling confident, feeling radiant, like any of those moments, you have this kind of looming background feeling like, watch out, like any minute now, the smackdown's going to come. Like you're going to get smacked down somehow. Don't get too excited. Don't get too happy. Don't get too proud. Don't be loving yourself too much, or you are going to get smacked down by the universe, by God, by life, by someone, by something, you're going to be hit with something unseen. Like, I think this is hugely influenced by religion in our world, not just in our country, not just in our society, like in the world. In most religions, it's in there. So I think almost everyone will have been touched by this, even if they didn't have any religious upbringing, because they just live in the world. And all of our books, our stories, our narratives are all around similar things. They all have similar narratives that are around that. So it's out there. It's ingrained in us. We expect that. I remember years ago hearing Brene Brown talk about that as like, I forget what she called it. Impending joy, or I forget what she called it, but basically she was painting the picture of a family. A family is all they're super happy. The movie opens on this family. The family's super happy, and they're all just so happy, and they're just loving each other, and they're having so much fun, and they're all getting into the car, and they're about to go somewhere, and ... And she was like asking the audience, like, what do you see coming next? And the whole audience was like, the crash, right? Like the whole audience went straight to like, something bad's going to happen. Like, you just can't be like happy and like good and like have all this without something horrible going to happen next. Like, so it's out there. It's in our movies. It's in our religions. It's even in spirituality. Like, the balancing of the scales, right? Like you have to, the polar opposites, like the balancing of scales, the polar opposites. So there's always like this fear that comes with your joy. And this kind of, but also there can be another level of that that's like shame that comes with your joy. And that's more the nuance that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about both, but I'm talking about the shame that can sometimes come with your joy when you are just feeling yourself in your life, and then you start having that sinking feeling, or you start looking around, waiting kind of for that other shoe to drop. And so I was checking in with myself about that today as I noticed that feeling arising in my body. Nowadays, like before, that feeling would probably come up and I would barely even notice because I'd be pushing through on just whatever I was doing and trying to ignore it. But now, like, I can feel it come up in my body right away. I'm like, oh, wow, what's this? Okay, there you are. And so I just check in with myself, like, what's going on? You want to talk to me about this? Like, what's happening right now? So as I was checking in with myself and checking in with that belief, and then questioning that belief. Well, is that true that you're going to get smacked down if you're feeling too proud, you're feeling too like things are going well and things are going good? Is that true? And checking in with that and like, yes, my first answer is always yes. And then checking in on a deeper level. Can you absolutely know that's true? And this is from the work of Byron Katie, which I use and recommend highly. And when I checked in on that deeper level, no, I can't absolutely know that that's true, but I just have this conditioning that's telling me that's what's going to happen, and I need to make myself safe. And then checking in with like, what happens to you when you believe that? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And then I went through that, like it feels horrible. I shut down. I start going into fear. I start trying to like protect myself. There's almost this like well of tears that's like sitting right at the top of my throat. Like I need to humble. And what that well of tears was wanting to say to me is like, I need to humble myself before I get humbled. I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me. Okay. So I was looking a little more deeper at that, and then like exploring who would I be without that belief. And this is where I just get really quiet and still and just see what comes up. And what immediately came up was this vision, and this is why I came here to share this today. What immediately came up was I saw little butterflies dancing around on flowers, just like flitting around on the flowers, and little fuzzy bumblebees buzzing around on the flowers. And what I understood about that image immediately is that they were my guidance, showing me that the pure innocence of total love and self-love and joy. Like nobody would ever like look at these sweet little butterflies dancing around on the flowers and be like, oh, you are way too joyful and you are having way too good of a time and you are loving yourself and these flowers way too much and you need to get smacked down for that. We would never, ever think that they're going to get smacked down for that. But we think we are, because the butterflies and the bees don't have the human conditioning that we have. And we don't have the conditioning about them that we have about ourselves, that we are humans and therefore we are like sinners and we are trash, and all of this conditioning comes in. And so we need to get humbled. But the butterfly is innocence. It doesn't need to get humbled. And the bumblebees are innocence. They don't need to get humbled. Their pure joy and love for life is just, they are it. Like us humans, we have to say that we love ourselves, and we have to reclaim love for ourselves, and we have to say these things only because we've been conditioned out of knowing that we are that pure, unadulterated love and joy. Like we are that. And so we've been conditioned out of that. So yes, now we have to say things to ourselves that remind us of that. And the little creatures do not have to do that. They just are it. But so are we. We are it also. But we're just remembering it and coming back to it. But it was just such a clear vision that it just brought tears to my eyes. Like the flowers and the butterflies and the bees, like they are that pure love and joy and happiness, just enjoying their beautiful life while it's here, just to the fullest. No thought that they're going to get smacked down for being too in love with themselves and their life, for just being love. It's not even being in love with themselves. They just are that love. And so are you when you're in that place. But you've been taught that that's like too much and that's too big, and you need to humble yourself and you need to knock yourself down a few pegs so that you don't get knocked down a few pegs. So you just voluntarily take yourself down a few pegs to get ahead of the curve. But we don't have to do that. So what I was able to see in that moment was the sheer innocence of them, which reflects my own sheer innocence. And I want to share with you your pure innocence. So when you are feeling that, that is pure innocence. And so is feeling the opposite. It all is. It's not that that's more innocent than anything else. Like, you are innocent in that. That is what you are expressing. That is what you are at the time. And let it take you. Be with it and question that fear when it comes up. Like I did, like check in with your body. Like, oh, hi, I see that you're getting scared right now. You want to talk to me about that? You want to tell me about that? I'm here for you. I'm not leaving you. We're okay. There's no man in the sky who wants to smack us down. No matter what you believe about God, like, if you are a person who believes that God is a vengeful, hateful, cruel authority figure that wants to teach us mean lessons and make us into angels, even though we apparently were already supposed to be angels, or whatever the whole stick is there, you're probably not listening to my podcast. You're probably not. So even if you do whatever you believe around God, like, question your beliefs around source, around the universe, around God, around consciousness, around all of that. Question your beliefs about punishment and humility and all of that. Like, where did that come from? And is that serving you anymore? And who made up those things and why? What for? What were they trying to do with that? That's a big rabbit hole. That's a huge rabbit hole. But you don't have to go down that rabbit hole to gain the benefit of just checking in with yourself and saying, is that really true? These beliefs that come up so invisibly that we don't even recognize, so invisible, they're so ingrained that it's just like, yes, this is just how it works, right? When you're really, really happy and you're doing really good, you get smacked down. Your car goes off the cliff, right? And like, we don't mentally think this, but our body is already having a response to this because it's running in the background. It's like, I remember stories like this, and what happens next is, and you might catch yourself in this. I've shared in prior episodes and in some of my blog articles, you might catch yourself in this, like on social media with those people that you see just like thriving. You might be secretly, there might be like a part of your mind that's like waiting for the other shoe to drop on that person, because you can't just like have a wonderful life. What? But yes, you can. You can just have a wonderful life. And that wonderful life might include any number of challenges. And yes, you can still enjoy your joy and your happiness and the fullness and the times when things are going so amazingly good you cannot even believe it, without this perception like you're going to get punished any second now, or you're going to get smacked down, or the universe is going to balance things out by taking you down a notch, or whatever it is. So just bring some awareness to those stories. This is just a reminder to bring some awareness to those stories. And also, when you do, think of those butterflies just flitting around on a little flower, and the flower itself in the bees. Like, what came up for me was like, how could you believe that? How could you believe that about you? And then the immediate awareness of like, oh, how was because that's what I got taught. And the butterflies and the bees and the flowers were never taught that. That's the only difference. It's the only difference. So I hope that was helpful for you today if you relate to that saga. And there's no need to push against that feeling. Just treat it like your most beloved child. Just be there for it. Hear it out, and offer it a different perspective. Thanks for joining me today. And if you'd like to find out more about me and my work, you can find me at sunnychapman.com.